Good morning, Intenders.
Good morning.
Welcome and welcome back to Morning Intentions. Today is Monday, July 20th, and thank you for joining us for this month of Life Changes in Reprioritizing. We've had a wonderful journey so far, and today we're going to start looking at what it takes to make life changes and reprioritize.
It has been a wonderful journey. We've talked about how things can change, like that's part of life. And when we try to hold on to something being the same, that's when we suffer. Friendships change, our relationships with our children change, our careers change. Change. And we're going to help ourselves out if we realize that life changes. There's a grieving process to that too, and we talked about that. We also talked about the need to let go of outdated identities. I'm a runner, I'm a parent, I'm a caregiver, I'm the strong one. I'm the one that everybody always comes to. We also talked about taking a time audit for a week, and I'm wondering how many of us did that. Did we see that we were spending time with people? Doesn't have anything to do with their inherent value, but with people that don't resonate with us anymore, or maybe never did, but we were too afraid to say it? Are we spending time on tasks that no longer fill us up? Whether we took a week or not, hopefully we all took some time to think about how we're spending our time. And then last week, we talked about sabotage, how we can self-sabotage when we know that we want to change, when we know that change is necessary and reprioritizing is necessary, and we sabotage it ourselves, or we allow others to sabotage what we really want for our lives. And that's just giving our power away. We want to focus the next 2 weeks of our theme, focusing on what matters now. How do we create a life that fits where we are now? And I think going back to our working definition, Ada, would be a great place to start this week off.
I think so too. Would you like me to share it once again?
I would.
Reprioritizing is the intentional practice of adjusting how we spend our time, energy, attention, and resources so they reflect who we are becoming rather than who we used to be.
Should I read that one more time for our hearts?
I think so.
Reprioritizing is the intentional practice, and that's what we're going to focus on the next 2 weeks, being intentional, of adjusting how we spend our time. We did our little time audit, energy, attention, and resources so they reflect who we are becoming, and what I just said a few minutes ago, who we are right now, rather than who we used to be.
So let's keep this definition in mind as we get into our first practice concept idea on what it takes to make life changes and reprioritize. So this is going to be the exact opposite of what was going on in our topics last week about being sabotaged by others or self-sabotage. We can't just say, well, no one supports me or they don't want me to change and then give up. No, that's not the way we roll around here. What we want to do instead is seek out the support to support us. If the people in our life aren't being as supportive as we would like them to be, as we need them to be, then it's our responsibility to go out into the world and find the support that will help us along our path.
I wish I would have known this because there's this stirring that happens inside.
A stirring?
It's a stirring that we know life changes are happening. We know deep in our hearts that we need to reprioritize. And then those people, the same old people that have been in our lives, while we can love them, we can value them, we can think, what would we do without them? All of that. When we're working through these life changes and reprioritizing, we need to process with somebody. We need to say, well, I'm thinking about this, but I'm not sure. And someone to maybe challenge us in the moment. Okay, why is this important to you? Why is this something that you're thinking about doing? How do you think this change will serve you? How do you think reprioritizing your life will help you to show up as that better version of yourself? All of those questions. And if we're asking our partner or our best friend or, some people, even their adult kids, well, what do you think about if I do this? We're actually putting those people in a tough spot. First of all, we're asking them to be able to be fully and completely objective, and they may be emotionally tied to how you've been showing up now. So it's so helpful to get a therapist, a coach, a counselor, a mentor to help you process the changes and the reprioritizing, and then help you to take your first steps, because life changes with small little steps. When we're thinking about our nervous system, Ada and I will always teach that we want to make changes that can titrate little changes into our lives so that we don't go into panic, that we can find some success with step 1 and then move on to step 2. So we're talking about small little changes that will add up to a big change, and getting support is essential for that. It doesn't have to be professional. It doesn't have to be a professional coach. It doesn't have to be a professional therapist or counselor. You can find someone to be your mentor. I would also say spending little money to get a therapist, counselor, or coach is also a wise investment, because it's their job to be that objective person in your life. It's their job to ask you some of the tough questions. Please share with me your why. Well, if your coach says that and you don't have a why, then you'll go home for a week and think about, well, what is my why? Why am I even doing this?
I totally agree with you about finding the therapist or finding the coach and making it a paid exchange. Some people might think, well, why should I have to pay for help?
Oh, I've heard that. I'll never forget this one guy. Sorry to interrupt you, but
that's fine.
I will never forget this one guy. He's like, I don't believe in counseling, therapy, or coaching because you should never have to pay for help. To me, that's ridiculous, because these people are giving their lives to helping you. So how are they supposed to buy groceries if you don't pay them? How are they supposed to pay the rent if you don't pay them? We need to value our helpers. We need to pay them for their time, because then we're all invested. So anyway, on my soapbox, I'll get off, Ada.
I totally agree. I was going to say something very similar. Having it be paid does give it that distance. There's not the emotional investment because there's the financial investment. They will be emotionally invested, don't get me wrong. But when it's a paid exchange, it does give it that distance. It's not a close friend. It's not a parent. It's not a child. It creates this professional relationship where everyone gets to be more honest.
Because then they can truly be an accountability partner. They don't have any emotions tied up in it. Not that they don't care about you and what's going on in your life, but if, for an example, I as a coach ask someone what their why is and they say, well, I don't know. I don't go home and say, oh, I wish they knew their why. It's like, no, I've tasked them to find out their why. Done deal. That space, that distance, again, can be filled with care and compassion and all of that. But that distance helps your coach or your counselor, your therapist, your mentor to hold you to account when you have expressed to them that this is something you really want to do. Because life changes are hard. Reprioritizing is hard. We need support.
So let's press pause, time out right here. We'll continue this topic tomorrow. But for today, our intention is I will seek out support when making life changes and reprioritizing. I will seek out support when making life changes and reprioritizing. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.